The person living next door knows when you come home, knows when your lights go out, knows when you're alone. Most of the time, that's just coincidence, proximity, normal neighborhood awareness. But what happens when normal becomes obsessive? When awareness becomes surveillance? When the person across the fence stops being a neighbor and becomes something else entirely? Case file 009, now open. 3 addresses, 3 people who thought they knew their neighbors. They were wrong. Subscribe now, like, and hit the notification bell. Because the worst monsters don't break down your door. They already have a key to theirs. Every garden requires nutrients to thrive. Petra's garden thrived better than any garden should. May of 2023. Sloan Vesper rented a cottage in suburban Sacramento. Quiet cul-de-sac, established trees lining the street, perfect for someone needing solitude to finish writing a novel. The neighbor to the east, an older woman named Petra, maintained the most extraordinary garden Sloan had ever witnessed. Roses blooming beside orchids, winter flowers flourishing in spring, plants that shouldn't coexist, growing in impossible harmony. Petra spent every daylight hour in that garden, kneeling among the beds, whispering to the plants, tending them with the devotion some people reserve for children. Beautiful garden, Sloan called over the fence one morning. Petra looked up, soil coating her hands up to the elbows. Thank you, dear. Each plant receives exactly what it needs, the right balance of care, the proper nourishment. Something in how she emphasized nourishment made Sloan's neck prickle, but she smiled and returned to her work. 3 weeks passed normally, then Sloan's cat vanished. Luna was strictly indoor, 17 years old, arthritic, couldn't jump higher than a footstool. Yet one morning the back door stood open. Sloan was certain she'd locked it, and Luna was gone. Sloan searched for days. Posted flyers throughout the neighborhood, checked every shelter within 20 miles. Nothing, not a single sighting. 2 weeks after Luna's disappearance, Petra invited Sloan for afternoon tea. "I've been meaning to show you my newest section," Petra said, leading Sloan through the garden gate. "I think you'll find it particularly meaningful." The new bed dominated the eastern corner. White roses, at least 60 of them, arranged in a perfect spiral. At the center stood a small granite marker. Sloan moved closer, squinting at the engraving. "Luna, beloved companion, now eternal." Her throat closed. "What is this?" Petra smiled gently. "She wandered into my shed, poor thing. By the time I discovered her, she'd already passed. At her age, it was likely her heart. Rather than let her go to waste, I gave her purpose. She feeds these roses now. Look how magnificent they are." Sloan's stomach heaved. "You composted my cat?" "I honored her," Petra corrected, voice still gentle. "Death isn't an ending in my garden, it's transformation. Everything that lives continues by feeding new life. Your Luna is eternal now. Doesn't that bring you comfort?" "You're sick," Sloan whispered, backing toward the gate. Petra's expression never changed. "I'm efficient. Nothing wastes in nature. Every living thing becomes sustenance for what comes next. I simply accelerate the process." Sloan fled, called animal control immediately, filed a report, demanded they investigate. They found nothing illegal. Composting a deceased pet on private property violated no ordinances. Disturbing, certainly, but not criminal. That night, Sloan stood at her bedroom window, staring down at Petra's garden. From this elevated angle, the layout became clear. 12 rectangular beds, each exactly 6 feet long by 3 feet wide, each with a small marker stone at one end, arranged in neat rows like graves. Sloan pulled out her phone. searched missing persons reports for Sacramento County. 11 people vanished over the past 7 years, all adults who lived alone, all last seen during evening hours. All cases eventually classified as voluntary disappearances or presumed relocated. 11 missing people, 12 garden beds. Sloan watched through the window as Petra emerged from her house after midnight, dragging something large wrapped in black plastic sheeting. The bundle was roughly 6 feet long. Common sense said, call the authorities, report what she was witnessing, let trained professionals investigate. But she'd already tried that with Luna. They'd done nothing. Instead, Sloan grabbed her phone, set it to record, and quietly slipped into her backyard. Through gaps in the fence, she filmed Petra unwrapping the plastic. A man, middle-aged, eyes closed peacefully, face slack but unmarked. Petra positioned him carefully in the newest bed, arranging his limbs with tender precision. Then she began covering him with soil, mixing in compounds from unmarked bags, adding substances that looked like bone meal and blood. As she worked, she spoke softly. Welcome to my garden. You'll nourish such beauty. Your essence will bloom in colors you never imagined. This is the most important thing you'll ever accomplish. Sloane's hand shook, nearly dropping the phone, but she kept recording. Evidence, undeniable proof. Then Petra stopped working, her head tilted as though sensing something. She turned slowly, looking directly at the fence, directly at the gap where Sloane hid. Their eyes met. Petra smiled that same gentle smile. Good evening, neighbor. Beautiful night for gardening, isn't it? Would you like to help? There's always room for one more. Sloane ran, burst through her back door, locked every entrance, and immediately called emergency services. She sent them the video before they even arrived, showed them everything she'd recorded. Police descended on Petra's property within 30 minutes. Cadaver dogs, ground-penetrating radar, forensic teams. They excavated the entire garden, found nothing, normal soil composition, no human remains, no evidence whatsoever of the body Sloane had filmed being buried just hours earlier. The video? Too dark to definitively identify what Petra had been planting. Could have been a mannequin. Garden sculpture, rolled carpet, anything. Petra stood calmly in her garden, cooperative and gracious, inviting officers to dig wherever they wished. My neighbor is mistaken, she told them kindly. I was preparing my beds for autumn planting. The late hour and darkness must have created unfortunate illusions. I hope she gets some rest. She seems quite stressed. The investigation concluded. Insufficient evidence to proceed. Sloane received a warning about filing false reports and wasting police resources. The next morning, she found a wicker basket on her porch, fresh vegetables from Petra's garden, tomatoes the size of softballs, squash in impossible shades of color, herbs that smelled intoxicating and wrong simultaneously. The attached note, written in elegant script, for my dear neighbor, grown with the utmost personal care. Each plant fed with my special methods. I do hope you enjoy them. They contain pieces of people I've known and loved. Perhaps next season, you'll contribute to the garden as well. Your essence would make such beautiful blooms. Sloane left that day, abandoned the lease, moved to a different city entirely, never ate fresh vegetables again, never looked at a garden the same way, because some neighbors don't just tend plants, they tend legacies, growing beauty from bodies, cultivating flowers from flesh, and their gardens are always hungry for new nutrients. The packages arrived before Dashiell even signed the lease, July of 2022. Dashiell Crane secured a studio apartment in downtown Portland, affordable for the neighborhood, close to public transit, reasonable rent for a software developer working remotely. On move-in day, 19 packages sat outside Unit 412, the apartment adjacent to his, all addressed to the same recipient, all unopened, some with shipping dates from weeks prior, his Unit 411. Over the next 10 days, more packages accumulated in the hallway. The neighbor never retrieved them. They multiplied daily, creating an obstacle course, blocking emergency exit access. Dashiell knocked on 412 repeatedly. No response. Yet he heard activity inside. Items being moved systematically, plastic crinkling, boxes being opened and stacked. Someone was definitely home. Building management said the tenant, listed as Felicity Chen, paid rent punctually, never violated lease terms, maintained privacy. They'd notified her about the obstruction but couldn't legally enter without cause. Then Dashiell noticed something peculiar about the packages. They weren't random purchases. Through the clear tape, he recognized the exact shampoo he used, the cereal he ate for breakfast, the precise model of running shoes he wore. Dozens of each item, all identical to what sat in his own apartment. One evening, returning from the gym, Dashiell found 412's door ajar, just 3 inches, enough to see inside. The apartment was overwhelming, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, stacked with identical products still sealed in original packaging, hundreds of the same shampoo bottles arranged by purchase date, hundreds of cereal boxes stacked chronologically, shirts in his size organized by color batch, every item labeled, every purchase logged with dates and locations, military precision in consumer replication. But what froze his blood was that every single product belonged to his life. A voice emerged from deep inside the apartment. "You're welcome to come in. I've been anticipating this moment." Dashiell stepped back, pulse racing. A woman appeared from between the towers, about 40, wearing the exact clothes he'd worn 2 days earlier. "I'm Felicity," she said gently. "Your existence is fascinating. I've been documenting it." She showed him photographs, grocery stores, his gym, his commute. Every routine moment, time-stamped and cataloged. "I've followed you for 8 months," she explained calmly. "I chose this apartment because proximity improves accuracy." Dashiell fled. Complaints went nowhere. Laws were broken by no one. He broke the lease. But for 3 weeks, she adapted to every change he made. Calls came at night. Mail arrived pre-opened. Trash vanished. The day before he left, his door was unlocked. A note sat on the counter in handwriting like his own. "I already know your new address. We'll be neighbors again. Soon I won't need to observe anymore. I'll simply be you, the improved version." He ran, changed everything. 2 weeks of silence. Then a package arrived. Inside, a photo album, his childhood, his schools, his entire life documented backward. The final page read, "You can change your present, but I own your past. The original is unnecessary when the copy is superior." He moved again. New identity. 8 months later, a friend request appeared. The profile photo was him, his old name, his old life, and everyone believed it was real, because the copy had become more convincing than the original. And sometimes he wonders, if someone studies you long enough, becomes you perfectly enough, do you still exist, or have you simply been replaced? The man across the street never closed. No answer. Figure stayed at the window, watching them knock, ignoring. Without crying. Riven now lives in an apartment with no exterior-facing windows. Curtains permanently closed. Cameras monitor every angle. He learned, you can't always tell when someone is watching. Sometimes the watcher is patient, professional, invisible, until the moment watching isn't enough. By then, too late to run. Case file 009, now closed. 3 neighbors, 3 families discovered proximity breeds danger. The gardener who saw people as nutrients. The collector who replicated someone else. The watcher documenting lives for invasion. Different methods, different obsessions, same violation. Someone next door decided you belong to them. Verified, real, documented. Horror doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the person who waves each morning, who knows your routines and vulnerabilities, who lives right next door. This has been the Nightmare Index. Subscribe, like, enable notifications. More cases await. Horror often happens right next door. Case file 009, closed.